This podcast is made possible by you, the supporters of WPLN and WNXP, Nashville Public Radio.
This is the Nashvillager Podcast. It's February 10th, 2026. One of the founding citizens of Nashville was born on this day in 1757. Anne Robertson Cockrill was a widowed single mother of three when her brother, James Robertson, led a group of men by land to establish the settlement that would become Nashville. Anne made the decision to come on the initial flotilla of flatboats that brought women and children to join the men here. And of that group of early residents, she was the only woman to get a land grant in her own name. During the long river journey here from what is now the Tennessee-North Carolina border, she became the resident school teacher of the flotilla's children. Without any normal writing tools available, she had to get creative. Accounts say she filled shallow boxes with river sand and had the kids trace their letters and numbers in the silty material. When the current became challenging enough that some of the boats decided to leave the flotilla and redirect to another destination, she took over for a boat pilot who had left the group. A few years after arriving here, Anne married a man named John Cockrill, and they made their home on a piece of property that became known as Cockrill Springs. And now we all know it by a different name, Centennial Park. I'm Nina Cardona, and this is your daily digest of what's happening around Middle Tennessee with a historical context from Nashville Public Radio, WPLN News. There is a corner of Centennial Park that is still officially called Cockrill Spring. It's where the actual spring bubbles up into a water feature tucked into the corner of the park at West End and 27th Avenue. Now, if you visited the park before 2015, you may not have even realized that there was a spring there. It was buried for decades before the first phase of a very long-term revitalization project for the park unearthed the spring and transformed what had been grassy space into a winding man-made channel for the water and a permanent home for musicians' corner performances. That was completed more than a decade ago. But the work of renovating the park as a whole is still underway. And yes, the work happening now is still a part of that master plan that started coming together in 2010, 4 mayors ago. Now, granted, that time span includes a spell where Nashville churned through mayors at top speed, but still, it's been a while, which I point out only to note that this is a truly major, intensive, and long-term project. Part of that is because the work has been paced to match the speed of fundraising. The city has put money into each phase of work, but it also depends on what the Centennial Park Conservancy can raise. The group completed a capital campaign a few years ago, and it continues to solicit donations to keep paying the bills for yet more construction and more improvements to the landscaping. The work so far has progressed from the park's front door on West End Avenue towards the back. And now in Phase 3, the focus is on the wooded area tucked behind the Parthenon and Lake Watauga, which, in case you didn't know, that's the name of the lake with all the ducks in the middle of the park. Since August, the driving route through that part of the park has been closed, along with its clusters of small parking lots. The northern portion of the walking path around the lake was shut down for a while in January, and that's all to make space for crews who are working on installing a new event pavilion, a cafe, and 2 new entrances. One's an enhanced entry point for vehicles on Park Plaza, and then also a better entrance for pedestrians from 31st Avenue and the 440 Greenway. It's a lot of work, but it is the kind where investments pay dividends. Centennial Park is one of the great jewels in the crown of the Metro Park system. It's long been one of the city's great gathering places. It's home to concerts, crafts fairs, the annual celebration of cultures. It's got the Parthenon, but also walking trails that are busy with families anytime the weather's nice, a lawn with plenty of room for multiple simultaneous games of Frisbee, and gardens that fill each spring with girls in prom dresses posing for moms trying to get the perfect photo. It's in walking distance of apartments, offices, hotels, and a major university campus. So people from all of those places find it a good place to get some fresh air. In just a few minutes, the next great place for truffle farms could be very close to home. That's coming up after the newscast.
We know that local government isn't the only part of your life.
Like the mayor, I know
know that city government isn't the only thing you're concerned with.
We are still struggling to find affordable housing.
Particularly with this bus stop.
That's one of the unique challenges with my business.
I'm WPLN's Metro reporter Cynthia Abrams. I'm working to break down topics like transit, housing, and local government to make sure that when you are thinking about Metro, you're getting the full story. Follow my latest stories at WPLN.org.
Here's the latest from WPLN News. Winter Storm Fern knocked out power for about 500,000 people in Nashville Electric Service's coverage area. The ice and fallen trees downed hundreds of miles of power lines and broke about 400 power poles. Now the utility is bracing for repair costs. WPLN's Catherine Sweeney tells us covering those and the cost of contracted labor could mean rate increases.
The board that oversees the public utility held a special meeting first thing Monday morning. That means it was called suddenly, not a normal scheduled meeting. CEO Teresa Broyles-Applin said the number isn't set yet, but it looks like Fern did at least $110 million of damage to NES property. She says normal revenues aren't going to cover that.
This generational storm will require us to consider a range of options like bridge financing or accelerating our planned bond issuance to be able to avoid or minimize any impacts on rates.
She told the board that there are no estimates yet for how much it costs to hire hundreds of contracted linemen, but there's a clue. She asked for a rule change on adjusting big contracts. Under current rules, top NES executives can increase contract payments by $500,000 without a vote. The board unanimously supported raising that cap to $5 million for winter storm contracts. Broyles-Applin said at least 3 companies that sent out linemen needed that level of a payment hike during the storm. The cap increase was among Metro Council member Emily Benedict's concerns. The Madison and Inglewood representatives spoke during the brief public comment period.
That increases the expenditure authorization by the CEO by 10 times. I think a 2x increase is acceptable. I would ask that you reduce that $5 million down to $1 million.
Catherine Sweeney, WPLN News.
The board should hold a regular meeting in February, but the date hasn't been posted yet. Families who lost food because of Winter Storm Fern can ask for emergency replacement of benefits through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP. The U.S. Department of Agriculture made the announcement yesterday. Officials say that SNAP households may have a portion of their January benefits replaced. They also asked the state to go ahead with the automatic mass replacement rather than have households report their losses individually. That's for 8 counties, including Davidson. The professional educators of Tennessee want a delay in TCAP testing due to the recent ice storm. The Tennessee Comprehensive Assessment Program is a state test given to students in the spring, and the stakes can be high. Third graders who don't perform well enough could be held back or sent to summer school. The ice storm knocked out power for thousands and caused many kids to miss a week of school or more. WBIR in Knoxville reports that teachers say missing those days costs kids valuable test preparation time. The educators group sent a letter to the State Commissioner of Education suggesting that school districts have the flexibility to decide when to give students the TCAP. Well, many people had to find emergency shelter during the recent winter storm, but that's an everyday challenge for people experiencing homelessness. Their numbers are increasing, even in rural Tennessee. WPLN Seth Thorpe tells us about an effort tonight in Cheatham County to count unhoused people and get support for their needs.
This is the second year that the Cheatham County Homeless Coalition conducted a count of unhoused people. It's a bit late after being postponed due to winter ice storms, which organizers say was revealing.
I think one of the things that this storm did is, one, create huge awareness about the housing needs and that there is literal homelessness here in Cheatham County.
Judy Tackett is the coalition's co-founder along with Lisa Wysocki. Their mission is to get data about people experiencing homelessness and garner support for those in need. With the help of volunteers, they conduct a count at night to find encampments, people living in cars, and other signs of homelessness, according to Wysocki.
There's a lot of woods and a lot of houses tucked away in areas that are remote.
Last year, the first Cheatham count tallied 15 people as homeless. The count is expected to be much higher this year, and Tackett says it will probably miss some who should be counted because they live in dilapidated housing with no power or plumbing.
But a lot of times it's really hard to count these folks because at night you can't just walk up
nowadays to people's what they consider their home. And it really is like, and tell them they're homeless and then count them.
Ultimately, the more accurate the count, the more effective funding and support services can be at helping people find housing. Seth Thorpe, WPLN News.
Cities and counties often administer programs like homeless services, public health, child care assistance, and food aid for low-income families. A new bill in the Tennessee legislature would require local governments to verify the immigration status of anyone benefiting from those programs. They would be required to send monthly reports to the state's centralized Immigration Enforcement Division and end benefits for people who don't have legal status. The bill also threatens to withhold funds from local governments that don't comply and criminalizes public employees who don't report undocumented immigrants to the state. The Tennessee Lookout reports the bill currently only applies to adult immigrants, but a sponsor says it would extend even to a parent trying to get their child vaccinated at a public health clinic. This is one of more than a dozen immigration-related bills crafted in consultation with the White House. GOP leaders say they hope Tennessee can be a testing ground for the legislation, creating a model for other states across the country. The Republican sponsors of the bill say they want taxpayer dollars to go solely to lawful residents. At the bill's announcement, conservative lawmakers said immigrants cost the state roughly $1 billion a year. Immigrant advocacy groups counter that immigrants generate $1.4 billion annually in local and state tax revenues. A nonprofit group says a rare species of salamander is at risk of extinction without quick action by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. The Center for Biological Diversity has filed a lawsuit against the Fish and Wildlife Service for failing to protect the yellow-spotted woodland salamander. While the service recognized the risks to the rare amphibian, they're more than a year past their deadline to take formal action. The salamanders live in isolated cliff faces in Kentucky, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia. Will Harlan leads the Southeast Regional branch of the center and says mining operations have all but wiped out the limited sites where the salamanders can survive.
These aren't just an Appalachian species. They aren't just mountain dwellers, but within the Appalachian Mountains, they only exist in shale and sandstone rock faces, and only in these rock faces. So they have a very specific niche, and if that is gone, they have no chance of surviving.
Mining operations have destroyed more than 500 mountains in the Appalachian region, leaving just 21 sites where the salamanders can be found. Harlan says fewer than 300 of the amphibians remain in the wild. All this month, the Tennessee Highway Patrol will set up sobriety checkpoints to cut down on the number of alcohol-related incidents. Troopers will be stationed across the state in both urban and rural counties, including Davidson, Cheatham, Rutherford, and Williamson. So plan ahead and have a designated sober driver.
You'll find more news anytime at WPLN.org.
A growing movement to make Appalachia the truffle capital of the world is being led by a small-town farmer just over the border in southern Kentucky. Derek Parham with member station WKYU walked the woods of Newtown Truffier and has the story.
Tucked into the outskirts of rural Allen County, a pair of foragers are on the search for one of the culinary world's most prized ingredients. Margaret Townsend is the founder and owner of Newtown Truffier and is leading a movement to make Kentucky a world leader in farming rare and delicious fungi. And she wouldn't be able to do it without her truffle hunting dog Luca by her side.
Okay, Luca, ready? Golf ball.
No, they're not searching for golf balls. That's just the word Luca knows to get his nose to the ground and sniff out the two species of truffles growing beneath the oak and hazelnut trees that cover Townsend's 25-acre property. The first is the Kentucky Winter White, a truffle native to Kentucky, prized for its distinct nutty flavor and local range.
And I made a mud pile. I'm so smart. There you go. Oh, it's a very respectable truffle.
The other, known all over the world, is the Perigord Black Truffle. Trees all over Townsend's orchard are adorned with different colored flags, marking which trees are actively producing truffles near their roots.
Okay.
Underneath one of those trees, Luca is on the scent.
It's a big one. He gets very impatient with me.
That's a frustration. I'm telling you, there's something in there. You're moving too slow.
Originally native to France, Perigord truffles can now be found in orchards in Kentucky, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia. Priced at a minimum of $60 an ounce, it's not hard to see the appeal for truffle growers. And while hunting with a dog isn't an exact science,
See what we've got. That's a mouse.
It's the best way to source the highest quality truffles possible, and Luca's nose always eventually leads him to the right spot.
There you go. See it? Yeah. That's a Perigord. Good job. That's what we're after. Show me, baby. Show me. Show me.
Townsend is the president of the North American Truffle Growers Association and is on a mission to bring more truffle orchards to Appalachia and the southeast region. The climate and soil quality create the perfect conditions for growing pear gourds, and even outside the world-famous French fungus, the region is home to wild truffles like the Kentucky Winter White, the Appalachian, and the pecan truffle.
So if you don't want to, go invest in a big orchard, get a dog, form a relationship, and go have fun in the woods. There's worse things to do.
Back in her kitchen, she showcases how to use the prized ingredient, from truffle butter to seafood and even ice cream.
Like one of my favorites is a hazelnut. Remember, we're growing hazelnuts out there? A hazelnut honey truffle.
Townsend has helped Kentucky companies like the bourbon distiller Maker's Mark set up their own orchards and is working with local chefs to feature native truffles on their menus.
We're really working on farm to table. Our chefs are really talking about farm to table. We're starting to talk about foraging. And boy, this is just a great angle to bring in when we start talking about that in Kentucky.
For a region so deeply rooted in the tradition of grit and necessity farming, she hopes to see the high-end specialty crop take off for local growers.
Kentucky used to be a big tobacco producing region, and we've been looking for alternative crops. And we're as good as any and better than most in the right conditions to look at truffle farming. And we need to be the center of the universe for something.
I'm Derek Parham in Bowling Green.
That story was produced as part of the Appalachian Mid-South Newsroom, a collaboration between NPR and 7 public radio stations in West Virginia, Tennessee, and Kentucky. Thanks for listening to the Nash Villager podcast. We take this look at local news every weekday. If you like it, go ahead and subscribe on your favorite podcasting app and tell a friend or give us a mention on your socials. It really helps get the word out. And of course, everything at WPLN News is listener supported. You can become a member at WPLN.org. That's it for today. Thanks so much for listening. Let's make this day a good one, and we'll catch back up tomorrow.